if there's an intelligence that's giving me life, that's keeping my heart beating and digesting my food, it certainly knows how to heal way better than me. There's an innate intelligence within us that gives us life, and that intelligence is a consciousness, as consciousness is awareness, and awareness is paying attention. So it's got to be paying attention to me. And so the story goes like this. I was studying medicine, pre-med, in college, and I was walking past the billboard, and I saw a sign that said, "Learn while you sleep." And I don't know why that caught my attention, because I was taking 21 credits that semester, and it was a full load, and I was taking organic chemistry and a lot of the sciences, and I thought, wow, what a great idea.
Yes.
To learn while I'm sleeping. So it led me to this whole thing about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and hypnosis, and I was intrigued by it, and I started reading everything I could about the power of the subconscious mind and hypnosis. And I went on to my further studies, and I got very interested in yoga and martial arts. By the time I graduated with my graduate degree, I studied so much martial arts. I had a black belt, and then I had a school. When I moved to San Diego, I taught yoga 3 or 4 days a week, and I never really planned on going in that direction, because it was just something new that caught my attention. But my interest was really about what is possible for human beings. And back then, in the 80s, it was just the only place you could find it was really studying yoga or martial arts or even hypnosis. And I was intrigued by stage hypnotists as well. So I studied hypnosis quite a bit. And then I was living in San Diego. I was training very, very hard for a triathlon, and on the biking portion of the race in this triathlon, I was making a turn, and there was a police officer on the corner, and he was waving me on, like pointing at me and waving me on, and there were two cyclists on the corner that were making the turn, and I was passing those cyclists, and when he was waving me on, he had his back to the oncoming traffic. So when I made the turn, this four-wheel drive vehicle was on the course, and it just hit me from behind and catapulted me out of my bike, and I landed on my back in a full somersault. And when you land that hard, the compression of those forces collapses the vertebrae. So I wound up breaking the 8th thoracic, 9th thoracic, 10th thoracic, 11th thoracic, 12th thoracic, and first lumbar vertebrae.
Wow.
And when you break, when you compress the volume of matter like that, the bone fragments have to go somewhere, so they go back against the spinal cord. And the neural arch, the little ring that the spinal cord passes through on the 8th thoracic vertebrae, had broken like a pretzel. So I had multiple compression fractures of my thoracic spine. I had bone fragments on the cord, and I had the neural arch compressing the cord as well. Anyway, to keep the story brief, I had 4 opinions from 4 of the leading surgeons in Southern California, and they unanimously agreed that the only treatment that I could pursue at this point was what was called a Harrington rod surgery, which is where they cut off the back parts of your vertebrae. They take these long stainless steel rods and they screw them into your spine, and the act of screwing them into the spine actually pulls the spinal column off the spinal cord to relieve the pressure on the cord. And in my case, it would have been from the base of my neck to the base of my spine.
Wow.
So I was struggling at that point, because surgery, that type of intervention, would have left me either addicted to some type of strong opiates, or I would have been in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, or limited in many ways, trying futilely to get away from the pain. So because of all of my interest in alternative ways, I wasn't so quick to just say, let's do the surgery. And it frustrated the surgeons quite a bit. And then the last day, I had to make a decision within 7 days, because after 7 days, the bones just start to lay down strings of calcium.
Okay.
And the surgery would have been more radical if I changed my mind. So I decided against the surgery. And I thought, well, listen, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm laying face down with a lot of pain and some neurological challenges. And I thought, well, if there's an intelligence that's giving me life, that's keeping my heart beating and digesting my food, it certainly knows how to heal way better than me. There's an innate intelligence within us that gives us life. And that intelligence is a consciousness, as consciousness is awareness, and awareness is paying attention. So it's got to be paying attention to me. And I thought, well, hell, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. Maybe I should just make contact with it and give it a plan, give it a template, give it a design. And when I'm very pleased with the design that I wanted to give it, I will surrender it, my creation, to this greater mind and allow it to do the healing for me. And the other thing I said is I'm not going to let any thought slip by my awareness that I don't want to experience. Now, it sounds really easy, but when you're faced with crisis and trauma, I think we tend to focus on what we don't want to have happen instead of what we do want to have happen, because the hormones of stress arouse the brain and body so that we're always preparing for the worst case scenario. So I would start reconstructing my spine, and then I'd start thinking about, oh my God, what if I live in a wheelchair? Should I sell my practice? And I caught myself not being able to pay attention. I'd stop and I'd start all over again. And it would take me hours to go through this whole process, and I would get frustrated and angry, and then it made it worse. and I was in a dark night of the soul because I couldn't get my mind to do what I wanted it to do. But I didn't give up. Well, about 6 weeks into it, all of a sudden I went through the whole thing. It took me, up until that point, 3 hours to do this. And all of a sudden I went through the whole thing without breaking my attention, and it just felt like I hit a tennis ball right in the sweet spot. I just clicked. It just felt right. And from that point on, my body started to change. My pain level started to drop. I started to feel my feet again. And boy, the moment I noticed what I was doing inside of me was producing some result outside of me, now I was ambitious and I was enthusiastic, and I just looked forward to doing it. And I was back on my feet in 10 and a half weeks, and back living my life in about 12 weeks, back in my practice, training again. Now, the doctors told me that I would have to wear a body cast for 6 months to a year if I was ever able to walk again, because without the rods, the instability of the spine may have caused instant full paralysis. So I put the cast on for about 30 minutes, and I just said, there's no way I'm going to live with this thing. And I stepped back into my life. Now, right at that moment, I realized that I couldn't be the same person again. I mean, after you're initiated like that, I couldn't relate with the people in my life. What was I going to complain about? I mean, I had a new chance at life. I was so excited. And in those dark nights, and those sleepless nights as well, where I couldn't sleep because I wasn't doing anything, I made a deal with that intelligence, and I said, if I'm ever able to walk again, I'll spend the rest of my life studying the mind-body connection and mind over matter. That was 1986, and I've been at it since then. So I got back into my life and decided that it was time for me to move, and I couldn't relate anymore. And so I asked bigger questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose in life? What happens when we die? What is the soul? And how did I heal? How did that happen? And I couldn't find any of the answers in any conventional journals or any textbooks. So it just was antiquated. It was out of step for me. And so I sold everything, and I wanted to raise my kids in the country. I moved to the Pacific Northwest and had nice, beautiful gardens and horses, and I wanted them to live in nature. And I started asking those questions. and I couldn't find the answers in any other place but the new sciences, quantum physics, neuroscience. I mean, this concept called neuroplasticity, epigenetics, psychoneuroimmunology, all of those sciences really point the finger at possibility. Mm-hmm. And I started to construct this model that if mind and body are somehow related, or if mind has an effect on the nature of reality, you have to study mind in order to understand it. And how is it that we can begin to create changes in our outer world? Well, quantum physics is one of the new sciences that says that reality isn't really the way we perceive it, that we're perceiving momentary experiences in matter as particles, but there's an infinite field of information that's giving life to everything material. Mm-hmm. And when I was going within and reconstructing my spine, I was observing a possibility, an outcome. And when I started to emotionally embrace that state, my body, as the unconscious mind, began to believe it was living in that future reality in the present moment. Now, the latest sciences in genetics say that genes don't create disease. It's the environment that signals the gene that creates disease. Well, I started thinking, well, the end product of an experience in any environmental moment is an emotion. So when you start to embrace the emotion ahead of the experience, you begin to signal the gene ahead of the environment. And genes make proteins, and proteins are responsible for the structure and the function of your physical body. And I started to realize that I was beginning to repattern the structure of my body, and I never have pain in my back. I'm not wired for it, and I don't have any limitations. And so I realized that in some way what we call miraculous really is something that we just haven't understood yet, and that maybe those spontaneous remissions that people experience aren't so spontaneous, but maybe there's an intent behind it. So now I sold my practice, I sold my homes, I went to the Northwest, and I had a lot of time on my hands, and I started thinking about all these things, and so I decided that it was time for me to study spontaneous remissions. So I traveled to 17 different countries. I interviewed hundreds of people that were treating conventionally or unconventionally, and they were staying the same or getting worse, and all of a sudden they got better. So I wanted to know what the cause was that was producing that effect. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't their diet. It wasn't that they were celibate. It wasn't that they were a Christian or Jewish or Buddhist. It wasn't that they didn't drink alcohol. I mean, some of them smoked. There was no correlation.
A clear pattern
that I could begin to correlate. And, when something happens once, that's an incident. When you start seeing two events that happen in a very short amount of time, that's called a coincidence. But when you start seeing 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, now you're looking at a trend, and anything that's repeatable is science.
We are back with Complete the Quote challenge. Can you complete the quote and give us the right answer? All you need to do is to complete the quote or statement that we choose, and if you can do it first, you're the daily winner. Your job is to write the correct answer in the comments below the video, or your guess if you're not sure. In the previous video we were looking for 2 words, and the quote belongs to Dr. Joe Dispenza. It goes like this: we cannot create a new future by holding on to the emotions of... The correct answer is the past. So we cannot create a new future by holding on to the emotions of the past. Congratulations to everyone with the correct answer. Today we are looking for 2 words, and the quote also belongs to Dr. Joe Dispenza. The quote goes like this: every time we have a thought, we make... Write your answers in the comments below the video, and if you like this video, give your thumbs up and share it with your friends. Be the first one and win this challenge. Do you like this way of ending the videos? What's your thought about this speech? Tell me everything in the comment section. If you don't want to miss my new videos and challenges, subscribe and hit the bell button, and you'll be notified when my new video is published. If you really like what we do here and want to support us, you can join our channel and our community for a symbolic fee and gain many other additional features. You can do that by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button, or you can click on the link in the description of this video. Stay good and have a great day.
I walk around the streets, everybody smiling. Sun shining bright, so better to be hiding. But you surrounded, don't forget about it. Long days, loud nights, it's summer. I walk around the streets, everybody smiling. Sun shining bright, so better to be hiding. But you surrounded, don't forget about it. Long days, loud nights, it's summer.
Quên đi bao câu hứa mình còn cho nhau, quên đi bao nỗi đau mình dành. Ngày xưa em đã vội quên đi những lời hứa ngày nào, vì dòng nước mắt em đã vội rơi, anh không thể mãi anh cứ đến vào điên rồi. Anh như say đôi mắt môi, anh như chỉ còn muốn em bên cạnh như ở phố xa rồi. Anh chỉ muốn em cạnh đấy thôi, không muốn em ở bên đời, chỉ muốn em anh bên người. Người đã gỡ bước đi xa trong cơn mưa chiều vội vã, người đã bước quên anh khi cơn mưa qua gần vội vã. Em đã quên rồi mai sau ngày hôm qua về, chẳng còn lại gì những người em bao nước mắt rơi. Em khiến con tim như trôi vai trong chiều thu đầy nắng, em khiến con tim như tan mưa trong chiều thu mát màng. Về còn nhiều lắm những ngỡ màng, nhiều lắm những nỗi vội vàng, nhiều lắm những cơn mưa em mưa ta bây giờ đơn vang không mơ không mai đứng sáng. Đêm mai em còn thơ đôi hôm mai anh còn người ta xưa ta chúng còn giữ nhau chẳng đêm.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with, now they looking nervously. And I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe, I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet next to me. I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.